disuruhnya. Udah.
Surprisingly, we already have about 43 participants join.
Close ya. Muteสีอีกอย่างเดียว
我怎么进去？
开始了。
对啊，那我觉得我看没声音呢，一起来弄。
Yes, we have about 50 participants currently.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We now have around 50 audience with us. Let us wait maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we will start our webinar.
You're looking great, Bill. I can see you, but I haven't heard you yet. Hello, Bill. Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me okay? Yes, I'm having some audio
Okay.
issues. Can you hear me now?
Great. I hear
Okay.
you. I hear and see
Okay.
you. I'll mute for a while. Okay.
Theo?
Yep. Shall we start?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can start now.
Okay.
Let's start. So, Rachel, would you make sure, is this section recorded?
Yeah, it is recorded.
Okay, all right. So,
We
yep.
share the Facebook Live. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and yeah, let's start. Okay. So, welcome to the webinar today. I think it's quite a. Can you first of all, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, welcome joining this webinar. I'm Leo Low, founder of Asia Proptech, and today I'm so happy to have this webinar with all of you because we also got support from Indonesia Proptech Association. Rusmin, he will also moderate this section with me. We also got a support from FIABCI to make this webinar to be successful. So yeah, thank for the organizations to support this webinar. And today's topic is about, can AVM replace traditional surveyors? I think this topic is kind of sensitive because some background on myself. I'm also a chartered surveyor. I
I know
suppose
that. Yeah.
work on this exact valuation or property valuation for my bread and butter. So I'm happy to have the different panelists today because we have a good mix. I mean, from different sectors in regarding this topic. Say, first of all, yeah, you see, we have Mr. Bill Jones, Director of FRICS Singapore. So I believe that Bill can share more from the regulator's point of view regarding the topic. We have Michael, also a chartered valuation surveyor from FIABCI, Malaysia. We have Budiarsa, Director of Ciputra Group, which is a developer. So I believe that you can also share the angles from the developer's point of view. We have Wing Low from CHFT Agility, which is the AVM solution provider. So again, Rusmin, Lawin, and I will moderate the section and we'll go through all the questions regarding the topic. So before that, I think we will have some slides to talk about some very brief introduction on AVM topic. So AVM means Automated Valuation Model, which is comparative new concept, although we may have heard about computer-assisted valuation model, maybe even some decades before. But the AVM today we are talking about would be more on the how to use AI, how to use big data, how to use data analytics to facilitate the valuation works. So on this slide, you can see starting from last year, early last year in 2019, the South China Morning Post, a local Hong Kong English newspaper, got a topic on this, say Hong Kong's property surveyors just about to survive, but for how long? Actually, at that story, it covers CHFT Agility's announcement of launching the very first mass residential AVM in Hong Kong. So I think it started some discussions in the industry, especially between the traditional surveyors and also the Proptech sector. And AVM actually is a mathematically based computer software model that produces an estimate of market value. So many people ask, say, if AVM anything different from the indicator that can maybe get from the online portal platform by valuing a property. The answer is, I always say that AVM is a professional grade AVM. We have some standard, we have some requirement about the error percentage, about the the valuation generated by the AVM. So I believe that those on the portals, the real estate platforms, or even on some mortgage banks, although you can still estimate the valuation of a particular property on the website, but somehow I think those are only the indications. So normally, as I know, they will just, try to find out 3 comparables and divide it by 3. But AVM is something more professional. So maybe we can discuss this further with Bill, with other in the panel. So I think most of you should have the idea about the valuation industry. Actually, no one will do the valuation for no purpose. So valuation, property valuation are basically required for different purposes. For example, you can see for audit purpose, for listed companies, they need to value all the investment properties every year for their accounting. For taxation, for example, in Hong Kong, we have the rate being valued by the rating and valuation department. Also for mortgage purpose, for financing purpose, etc. So I can say that valuation or property valuation is critical in terms to keep the financial sector or the financial market stable. Nowadays, I think in terms of the global use of AVM, you can see from this slide, most of the Western countries started to use AVM, but apparently you can see the numbers. The Asia Pacific or Asia market is still a blue ocean. That means we still have the room to have the AVM developed. Frankly speaking, nowadays, I think most of the AVM are still focusing on the residential properties or mass residential property. The reason is very simple because commercial property involves a lot of data, and it also involves a more complicated algorithm behind. So as I know, there are few companies working hard in developing the commercial real estate AVM. Most of them are coming from the Western countries. Here is the last slide of mine. You can see, and maybe we have some folks from Singapore should have also heard about this kind of this argument about the valuation, the AVM. So AVM company Street Sign Singapore has actually dropped a lawsuit against MSISV some years ago. But after that, MSISV agreed to encourage the property valuation market or the financial institutes to embrace the AVM and also the technology. So maybe we can also further discuss about this to discuss about the future trend, how the regulators see the emerging trend of AVM. So, yep, I think it's the time for me to pass the presentation to Mr. Wing Lo to continue to introduce your company's AVM solution.
Thank you, Leo. Okay, let me share my screen first. Leo, I need you to share the screen first. Thank you. Thank you for invitations. I'm Wing from CKS. In Hong Kong, we have a partnership with CHFT to provide the AVM solution in Hong Kong. So that's why there's a logo in CKS. Leo just now give a very simple introduction. For the next 5 minutes, I will basically talk about the AVM development, AVM in Asia Pacific. So some of my observations in different markets, such as the places is Hong Kong, Singapore, China, Japan, the involvement of AVM. So before I talk about all these observations, let me take share with you guys a 2 minutes, another refresh of what we all just talked about the AVM. Okay, so basically, this video just give a summary of the what AVM look like. So let me go through the evolutions of AVM. So actually, AVM have been in US since 70s. Then after that, go to Australia in the 80s and the 90s. And back then is mainly by a few technology firms lead the whole thing. They do the regressions model to do the mass appraisal for the bank, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae for the mortgage writings, and also for the government for the tax assessments. So in 2000s, the AVM expand to mainly to Europe, in Asia, in Hong Kong actually. Hong Kong has been started, I think about 2003, 2004. In Europe, London, all these things, they're about early 2000. Mainly again, the same thing, mortgage underwriting and tax assessment. So there's a few companies you see here, Rightmove, then the DDs at Hong Kong, and then some company. In the last 10 years, we can see a big wave catch up from Singapore, a little bit of Malaysia, but increasingly from China. And later I will share a bit more. The happening in China is really amazing how fast they catch up and overcome the obstacles. In the last 10 years, the trend in meaning is the hybrid of the tech firm and also the valuation also catch up because we feel threatened. So some of us, like myself and some other company, venture into providing AVM services. So in this very simple plot is x-axis and y-axis. So the y is the AVM availability or the data availability, and then the x-axis is the adoption rate. So from this part is very simple. How it is basically is only other than Australia in Asia is Hong Kong, Singapore, and China. So on your left hand side on your screen, right, this few country, right, the development of AVM is not yet mature, but they are promising. Okay. So you can see in your screen, basically this is the screenshot that I see the AVM service provider in different cities, Hong Kong, Singapore, and China. So the Hong Kong, as I mentioned earlier, is about 04, 05, mainly regressions or the surveyor formula in those era. Then the China, right, they are increasingly using the big data and machine learning. So the Chinese, they are maybe the O2O movement, you know, that the entire fintech in the country, right? The valuation firm itself come together and solve the data issue. And then you can see the screen, they can all these provide the AVM you're seeing. This is Singapore. Singapore is in between hybrid surveyor formula and also machine learning code. So this example, this is from the Baker. So basically, Baker now is the largest property platform in China. And then again, they have adopted the AVM to facilitate the transaction for themselves. Then this is from Hong Kong. So what interesting is Hong Kong, that in Asia, they start very early, 04, but there's no movement, there's no improvement in machine learning. But for since I think last year or early this year, finally there's some little bit of innovation in the sense that they improve the user experience, the property portal and the bank come together. Instead of you go to the bank portal and key the address yourself, so that once again, they automate the entire process. You go to the system and then you can click from this Hang Seng Bank instant valuation that will show you the value for this thing. This is some interesting observation in Hong Kong. In China, the adoption of AVM rate actually is pretty fast. So there are about 3 or 4 service providers in China. So they all started about early 2011, 2012. In about 3 to 4 years time, they have built the database, the transaction database through the sharings of all the valuations firm. Because in China, I think only last year, or 2 years ago, they have a centralized government database. Way before that, the data is fragmented. You're unable to get an official quality database, but the Chinese solved it. They built the AVM, okay? And then the applications are amazing. For example, in your screen now, this is the auction site by jetty.com. So you do the auctions. So the court obtain the property price through AVM. So this is another auction site. They also through the AVM to do the auctions. And the Chinese is the valuation firms, right? All this done, all just now all the API all prepared by valuation firm, done by valuation firm. So they have provided the API, all the different kind of API solutions. You can see on the screen the risk assessment, profile, etc. So it's very amazing in Chinese. And then last but not least, there's one interesting observation is Japan. Japan, although is the third largest property market in the world, but very liquid, but is relatively intransparent. In fact, the how should I say, the property data information, transaction information are not accessible by the public until the government liberalized September last year. Before that, you only rely on the agent or practitioners to understand what happened on the property market. Last year, the rule changed that allowed people to understand the information, and then the SoftBank, this side is a SoftBank, they straight away developed the AVM in partnership with Sony. So I don't know Japanese, but somehow I translate, you key the particular address you click, they're able to show you the values, the mainly using the AI. So there's a few challenges for Malaysia just now. Although Malaysia have one of the quality database, I guess nearly as good as Singapore, but unfortunately the AVM does not take off because the Malaysia authority prohibit the online identifications. So that's why none of the valuation firm in Malaysia are ready to push the AVM in the market. For other countries such as Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand, it's not about technology, it's about data for these places. So the data is really, really difficult in these three ASEAN countries. So the question is, can they go the China way, whereby they solve it, where all the versions come together and build a centralized database? Secondly, can they adopt the alternative data to accumulate the big data, the other kind of data, and then adopt the machine learning model and predict? But that side is no longer the like the video I said on the AVM. It's more like the machine learning and another school of thought. So it might be subject to the arguments of the valuation standard, because if you use big data and use all the big data is not really like what the valuation that we understand. So the compose. In terms of the limitations and accuracy, as mentioned, at the moment, most of the AVM remain residential. For residential AVM, the accuracy rate actually is not bad. I guess all the model across in Asia, Europe, or US, they are about 3 to 5%, and most of the model, except those very rare unit, a penthouse or an auction unit, but 95% should be okay, no issue. The commercial property or landed property AVM, in US, I think the landed property quite good because their database is much bigger. But as far as I'm concerned, in the Asia part of world, residential landed property, the houses are yet to robust model. Commercial property, we understand that a Europe startup has tried to innovate. We hope to see more update from them. Increasingly, as I mentioned just now, AVM, we keep using a lot of big data technique, the big machine learning algorithm, random forest, boost model, all these things. Certainly, the predictions of housing price are fairly accurate, but there's a limitation. You can predict in sample probably the next 1-2 months, but you can't predict that. So I think this is food for thought. I think this issue will be in the panel discussion. I don't want to talk. So just the preliminary view is AVM replace valuer. My answer is simple answers for mortgage valuation, yes, and pretty soon. But on the other valuations practice, it will be a tool to complement valuables. So how the valuables survive, we got to transform ourselves. So one of the possible suggestion, we chase ourselves, become a data scientist. They'll deliver report, we deliver API solution. Yeah, that's my part. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Weng. So yeah, that's a very interesting point. How shall a property valuer evolve, especially during nowadays the digitization, the Proptech trend? Yeah, we should really think about it. So yeah, let's pass the stage to Michael. Right, Michael, you have something to share, right?
Wow. Thank you, Leo, for inviting Rusmin and the gang. Hello, everybody. I'm very comforted to be here because I know that Leo, you're also a chartered surveyor, and I just found out that even the WENG is also a practicing chartered surveyor. Bill also, of course, Chief RICS. Pabudi is a developer, user of the, but Bill also is a user of an application of this as well. Okay, give me a couple of minutes. Can you see my slides? Yes?
Yeah, I can see your slide.
Can you see my slides? Okay. So I like to start and end my presentation in the 5 minutes, and it's all about I like to share from the UK, the RICS, to the European Union, a parliamentary committee, and even to Singapore, the home of big tech, Proptech, and the most savvy city-states in Asia for the future of fintech and Proptech. Ladies and gentlemen, why the question was posed to me is, what is stopping or why not encouraging the real estate industry to adopt AVM instead of relying on traditional surveyor? I'll answer my questions in two parts. One, it is not about why surveyors are doing this and doing that. It is about what our reports are for. Yes, all presentations will be shared to everybody. Okay, I lost my, hang on. Okay, so our valuation reports we comply to IVSC, ICVS, accounting standard, banking standards, representative of our respective Bursas, Securities Commission for exercises and all that, and for the court, the civil court, many of us are in Commonwealth law. So I find even from the UK, home of RICS, the European Union, even to Singapore, the reasons are the same. Actually, Leo and Weng has mentioned them before, but I'll articulate and share it out. The European standard, the EU valuation standard, have a very strong comment here that the AVMs cannot be used to produce a valuation report. And when it's used, it must never be more than a tool contributing to the valuer's estimation of value, for which the signing valuer remains responsible.
Mike, your presentation not moving, Mike.
Yeah, I know. It's not moving at all. Okay, then I will stop, but I will just share and read. Okay, I will read the presentation and then I'll share it later out. Okay. Two, again, it is a tool for valuation. It can work. It's all that what was being mentioned is a limited coverage of data. It's unlikely to be relevant for specialist properties. These are European Union, EU valuation standards, yeah? Of course, limitations, there are too many here. Actually, Mr. Leo and Lo has mentioned about it already. So I don't need to go through the limitations. It is, the usage is limited to banks, local governments, full stop. Okay, it is, of course, the later models are used by valuation companies to assist, yeah, to assist valuation. This is interesting. The AVM has been more widespread, yeah. It says that abusive use of AVM was one of the reasons of the financial crisis, or the Irish banking financial crisis in 2016. This is a final report of the Parliamentary Committee of the European Union. So it's very clear that for that reason, a reliable valuation document is central to the credit risk decisions. Okay. The European framework does not address the AVMs, but insists that professionally competent external and internal appraisers, valuers must sign on the valuation report. Financial institutions may use statistical methods to monitor the value of the property and to identify that needs revaluation. In the end, AVMs cannot be used to produce a valuation report that complies with the European standard of surveyor, independently of valuation process, where use and ETM must never more than a tool contributing to the valuer's estimation of value, which again, he remains responsible. The RICS also has the comments on it, very similar to the European Union. The RICS has mentioned of AVMs and artificial intelligence. It talks about advantages and challenges, which Leo and Lo has already mentioned. So I cannot show it here anyway, but ladies and gentlemen, the surveyors body of Singapore, the MSISV, ended a 3-year dispute with IT company Street Sign Technology. This is a very, very important case. Only last year, December 2019, just before COVID, yeah. IT company Street Sign dropped lawsuit on together with 26 other parties. I'm sure some Singaporeans may be here. It's a tech company that even after 3 years go to out of court mediation. I won't go through the intricacy of this. It's 3 years long and very, very juicy. But professionally, we just say that I won't go through also that I won't go through about the statement. Again, Street Sign was in talk with banks to be on their valuation panel. again, it's a combination of a portal text with valuation, but to be on the panel. But the system was the Singapore Institute of Surveyors came out and mentioned strongly about it, and it attracted a lawsuit. And many firms, 26 other parties, including Knight Frank, CBRE, everybody was sued as well. I can just read, yeah, I cannot show that. Yeah. So Street Sign also claimed losses and all that now. So after 3 years, what happened? After 3 years, both parties, I have the statement here, that both parties back off and each acknowledge each other. The SSIV recognizes Street Sign Tech as is a system to be used by humans, and then Street Sign Tech recognizes that the opinion of a licensed appraiser valuer on verification, validation, analysis remains an important part in the valuation process. So SSIV strongly recommends embracing technology as AVM in performing valuation process, and no more lawsuit, and that's the conclusion on drop hand basis. So 2019 December, before COVID. So to me, that is a summary of my talk today. I have nothing else to mention. Over back to you, Leo.
Thank
and
you.
Rusmin. Over back to you.
Very good, very good. So we have